Good afternoon, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for Tuesday, September 2, 2025. And in the news this afternoon, sudden wage increases could reduce employment opportunities, JHTA warns. The Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association has joined the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce in urging the government to engage in consultation on its proposal for a phased increase in the national minimum wage, warning that sudden wage increases can inadvertently result in reduced employment opportunities. While we recognize the critical importance of ensuring that Jamaicans earn a fair and sustainable wage, the JHTA strongly urges the government to engage in meaningful consultation with the key stakeholders before finalizing any adjustments. Tourism accounts for approximately one-third of Jamaica's gross domestic product and is one of the country's largest employers. Any shifts in wage policy will therefore have wide-ranging implications for the sector, including employment levels, competitiveness, and the affordability of the Jamaican tourism product in a highly competitive global marketplace, JHTA said in a statement on Tuesday. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, while speaking at a Jamaica Labour Party mass rally in Old Harbour on Sunday, announced that the national minimum wage would double from $16,000 to $32,000 over the next several years if the JLP returns to power after the general election. He noted that the first increase would take place in the next budget, which would see the minimum wage at $18,000, then increase gradually after the next few years. However, the JHTA stressed that the Minimum Wage Advisory Commission and the law provide for an established consultative process involving the government, trade unions, private sector, civil society, and academia. It further encouraged the utilization of the framework to ensure transparency, fairness, and a balance in decision-making. Failure to follow such a process risks creating economic shocks not only for businesses but also for workers themselves. Sudden wage increases without a proper dialogue and phased implementation strategies could inadvertently result in reduced employment opportunities, higher operational costs, and increased prices being passed on to consumers, the association said. The JHTA therefore calls for structured dialogue that fully considers the realities of the tourism sector, the broader economy, and Jamaica's long-term competitiveness. Decisions of this magnitude must be grounded in collaboration, data-driven analysis, and transparency to ensure that policies designed to uplift workers do not inadvertently weaken the industries that sustain them, it added. On Monday, the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce also urged the government to follow the established consultative process before doubling the country's national minimum wage, noting that safeguarding Jamaica's economic stability requires a structured, transparent, and inclusive approach. St. Catherine man pleads guilty to $1.4 million car fraud. A St. Catherine man charged with taking over $1 million from another man to buy a car but failed to do so, today pleaded guilty to obtaining money by means of false pretense in the parish court. Patrick Rennie was remanded by acting parish court judge Janelle Nelson Gale for sentencing on October 17. Rennie was ordered to submit his fingerprints to the authorities, and the judge also requested a social inquiry report. The facts are that on March 23, 2021, Rennie was given $1.4 million in two tranches to purchase a 2016 Toyota Probox motor car, which he failed to deliver. Several attempts by the complainant to recover his money proved futile, and Rennie became elusive. A report was made to the police, and following an investigation, Rennie was arrested and charged. He made several court appearances before pleading guilty on September 2. Jamaican man deported by U.S. to Eswatini held in prison despite a completing sentence, lawyer says. 3 men, including Jamaican Orville Etoria, deported by the United States to Eswatini in July have been held in a maximum security prison in the African nation for 7 weeks without a charge and with no access to legal counsel despite completing criminal sentences in the U.S., their lawyers said on Tuesday. The New York-based Legal Aid Society said it was representing Etoria and that he had been inexplicably sent to Eswatini when his home country was willing to accept him back. Etoria was the first of at least 20 deportees sent by the U.S. to the various African nations in the last 2 months to be identified publicly. The deportations are part of the Trump administration's largely secretive third country program to crack down on immigration. The 62-year-old Etoria was convicted of a serious crime in the U.S. in 1997 and was released from prison on parole in 2021, the Legal Aid Society said in a statement. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security said in a post on X that Etoria had been convicted of murder. The Legal Aid Society said the U.S. government had falsely claimed that Jamaica refused to accept him back. Homeland Security, when announcing the deportation of a total of 5 men to Eswatini in mid-July, claimed they were so uniquely barbaric that their home countries refused to take them back. Homeland Security said at the time the men were dangerous criminals from Jamaica, Cuba, Laos, Vietnam, and Yemen, but didn't identify them by name. A lawyer representing the 2 other men from Laos and Vietnam said Tuesday his clients also served their criminal sentences in the U.S. and had been released into the community. Then, without warning and explanation from either the U.S. or Eswatini governments, they were arbitrarily arrested and sent to a country to which they had never ever been, the lawyer said in a statement. He said the U.S. government was orchestrating secretive third country transfers without no meaningful legal process, resulting in indefinite detention. Homeland Security said those 2 men had been convicted of charges including child rape and second-degree murder. A third lawyer, Alma David, said she represented 2 men from Yemen and Cuba who are also held in Eswatini and were denied access to lawyers. She said she had been told by the head of the Eswatini prison that only the U.S. Embassy could grant access to the men. Since when does the U.S. Embassy have jurisdiction over Eswatini's national prisons? She said in a statement, adding the men weren't told a reason for their detention and no lawyer has been permitted to visit them. David said all 5 were being held in Eswatini's main maximum security prison indefinitely at U.S. taxpayers' expense. Since July, the Trump administration has expanded its third country deportation program and sent migrants to at least 3 African nations, South Sudan, Eswatini, and Rwanda, and has a deal in principle with a 4th African country, Uganda. Guys, thank you for watching. See you this evening at 6 p.m. for another news update.